Hello, everyone. I am Miles Wiley, a fourth-year pharmacology PhD candidate, and I am at Auburn University. I'm originally from Raleigh, North Carolina. My research investigates synaptic plasticity and learning and memory, specifically in prenatal cannabinoid exposure. I investigated learning and memory alterations of adolescent children who have been exposed to cannabis in utero. And with the increased legalization of marijuana, more pregnant women are using cannabis typically during the first trimester. I began my education at Tuskegee University, go Tigers. My undergraduate degree was in biology pre-health, and I'm a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I crossed in 2019, and I chose an HBCU because I wanted to attend a school with people who looked like me and be at a school that supported me. Specifically, why I chose Tuskegee, because I'm a legacy kid at Tuskegee. Both my parents attended Tuskegee University and my godmother, and actually now my sister currently attends there as well. And when I first attended Tuskegee, I knew I wanted to be a scientist, but didn't really know a field. I got interested in science growing up when I was watching NCIS, CSI, and a lot of like forensic science shows. So I thought, okay, I think I want to be a forensic scientist, and I started as a chemistry major at Tuskegee. So I took my very first chemistry class. That was in my first semester freshman year, and let's just say I did not do really well. And that's when I knew then that chemistry was not a field for me. Chemistry just doesn't really it doesn't make sense to me, honestly. So I changed to biology after my first semester of college. Uh, and why did you choose? The second question is, why did you choose to pursue a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences? So I was still struggling to figure out what I wanted to do after college. And I took some intro to biology courses my sophomore year. And then in my junior year, I took a drug discovery lab under Dr. Albert Russell. And in the lab, we were taught how to make baby aspirin. Once I thought that at the time that was the coolest thing in the world, like making a drug, and I was like, okay, this is really cool. So it's like a light bulb that went off in my head, and this is what I decided I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Dr. Russell also noticed my enthusiasm, and he recommended that I do undergraduate research under a colleague of his. So at Tuskegee, undergraduate research is not required for a major. It actually has to be recommended to you by a professor. So it's nice of the fact that he saw something in me and recommended that I pursue this. And that was the second semester of my junior year, and I was like, okay, I want to do research. This is really what I want to do. So what were strategies you used to get into a PhD program without doing a gap year? So I talked to some Tuskegee alums that summer of my junior year, and they recommend I find an internship just because, well, one, I've only done undergraduate research up until this point. I think I know what I want to do, but not really specifically like what I want in research. So they recommended that I find an internship somewhere. So they networked with some Tuskegee alums, and they put me in contact with other alums. And long story short, I got in contact with someone who works at South Advanced Biologics, and I was hired as an intern. So that was going into the fall of my actually summer of my junior year. And I did not want to waste a summer. So I was like, you know what? Let me think about what else I can do up until this point to prep for my internship. And I was really, really excited to start my internship. But that was an internship was supposed to be in summer 2020. And as you all know, that was when COVID happened. So my internship was canceled. So before the summer prepping, I was like, okay, I'm going to really study, like kind of learn more about drug development, drug discovery. And when my internship was canceled, I was like, well, I might as well just kind of continue what I'm doing what I was doing during school year, just learning, researching. I was studying informational interviews, and I was just really learning about what drug discovery and development is all about. And one of the strategies that I was taught was to use LinkedIn. And this was, like I said, during COVID. So everyone was virtual. So I got on LinkedIn and I just started really asking people, hey, do you have 15 minutes or 30 minutes for a meeting just to learn more about your position? So I set up a lot of informational interviews and just got to know more people within the field. And also during that summer, I worked with my undergraduate mentor as well. He was appreciative that I could work virtually. So with that, I was forced to be able to learn basic coding, such as R and Python, because all of the research I was doing was virtual at that point. So he wanted me to learn R and Python. And when I turned into Tuskegee my senior year, then I was like, okay, I really, really want to do drug discovery. I want to pursue a PhD in drug discovery and development. So I was trying to figure out, well, then what programs offer that? So my senior year, all my classes were also online too. And I actually decided to live in Auburn. So Auburn is about 20 minutes away from Tuskegee, it's literally 2 exits down. And I wanted to continue doing more like hands-on pharmaceutical research. And I was already living in Auburn, so I didn't want to drive back and forth to Tuskegee. So I just figured, well, let me go to email a lot of the professors in the Department of Drug Discovery and Development in Auburn and see if I could research in their lab during the school year. So overall, I truly believe that taking the initiative and networking and being persistent is what got me into graduate school. So that's what I did is I networked with them, and then I was able to be put in contact with one professor, Dr. Mitra, and he specialized in pharmacogenomic research. So it was kind of up my alley at the time since I already had exposure to R and Python. So at first I was like, okay, I can do something in cancer. He focuses on cancer, so multiple myeloma research, and I was like, okay, this seems interesting. And when I first got to his lab, I was like, this is not kind of what I want to do. So I was like cancer and cell culture. This is not doesn't seem kind of interesting to me. So I still apply to Auburn because I just in case that if I do get apply to also Auburn, I think I apply to University of North Carolina and also Vanderbilt. So I got into Auburn and also UNC, and UNC wanted me to do a post-bac program. So that's a 1 year of extra research. At the time, I did not really have much research experience. And Auburn actually, my application was still in kind of their portal, department portal, and I knew I didn't want to work in cancer. So one of the professors in the department, who's actually now my current mentor, saw my application in the portal. He asked to interview me, and his research is basically what I do now is in neuroscience. So I look at synaptic plasticity and learning and memory. The next question that I have right here is, how did you go about making connections in pharma during your educational journey? So as mentioned before, I used LinkedIn during the summer of 2020, and that really helped. I networked, no, I say network. I got on LinkedIn. I said, oh, well, this person looks interesting. Let me just follow him on LinkedIn. Then I messaged him. And I just messaged a lot of people, and some people were willing to meet with me, some people were not. But it was good. It was good on my part that I was taking the initiative to learn about what they do. The networking is actually what helped me find the GEM Fellowship. So the GEM Fellowship is the Graduate Education for Minorities Fellowship. This fellowship supports minorities pursuing master's and doctorate degrees in STEM. That was my very first fellowship coming into Auburn. I was very excited to have it. And with that, part of that fellowship is internship with a gym employer. So a lot of companies are also looking for diverse talent. And they partner with this organization, Gym, to find students who are diversity students who are in STEM. So I was able to get an internship with Johnson & Johnson, and I specifically worked in a clinical supply chain. So I was a biologics clinical supply chain intern, and this was the summer before beginning at Auburn as a PhD student. And so this is my very first official internship in pharmaceutical industry, because like I said, my first one at Cytovance was canceled. So even though this internship was not in my field, 'cause this was mainly manufacturing, and but it was also in Alzheimer's. So I was actually tasked with moving Alzheimer's drug from phase 1 to phase 2. So that was a team I set in on. And when you do that in a manufacturing space, you have to develop what's called a technology transfer document or a tech transfer document. That's pretty much just a long, really, really long document of how to move this drug to phase 2. Because when you move up in phases, you also increase the number of patients, and you have to increase your manufacturing scale. So most of J&J's manufacturing is global. So there are a lot of different sites that manufacture like certain parts of a drug. So that document is basically like the main document that says, hey, this facility in this part of the world is going to manufacture this part, and so on. So really interesting to be on that. So basically, I was on the development side. So it's really interesting to see that. Then also my very first internship. So also while I was interning, I networked a lot too within the company. So I did the same thing that I did on LinkedIn, except within the company. I just met people via email, said, hey, would you like to meet? I'm an intern. I'm just eager to learn about your position and what you do and what is your typical day to day. And I did that throughout the summer. And I was able to parlay my connections to my second internship after the first year of graduate school. So next question is, where do you see yourself after completing your PhD? So my second internship was in Neuroscience External Innovation in Cambridge, Massachusetts, specifically in Kendall Square area. So Kendall Square is nicknamed the most innovative square in the world because you can throw a rock and hit a biotech company or a venture capital firm who is looking to fund companies or venture creation firm. It is so many people in that small, it's basically really a square mile of just people who are just really trying to develop therapeutics for patients. And within my internship, I was in an early stage innovation. So there's a small biotechs that have not even hit phase 1 yet. So they're still in preclinical studies. So they're looking at, they have an interest in therapeutic technology that they're trying to develop, and they're trying to basically test for if this drug is actually feasible to patients. So my team responsibility was to identify therapeutics and technologies that the company does not have internally to advance to the clinic. So basically, J&J, and then mostly every pharmaceutical company has a external innovation team. But specifically for J&J, they would acquire the asset or even a company itself, depending on the strategic priority of J&J at the time. So say, for example, J&J is looking at Alzheimer's, and they want to look at Parkinson's, but they don't have anyone currently working on Parkinson's. So they would ask the team that, hey, let's find some companies or assets of interest or therapeutics that are promising in Parkinson's, and let's see if we can partner with them on a collaboration. Because a lot of these times these companies are small biotechs. They can be, when I say small biotechs, they're probably at max maybe between 100 and 500 employees. So they're pretty small. But they don't have, like, for example, they don't have the manufacturing capabilities to manufacture drug. Like, they have their own limitations. So we would partner with a large pharma like J&J to move your drug through the pipeline. And what I realized that working on this team, that one, I thoroughly enjoyed Boston. I enjoyed Kendall Square. I attended so many evening sessions, the evening panel sessions on people's research, people's companies, and it was really interesting. And I realized that this is the perfect intersection between science and business, which is where I want to be. And also working on this team, and realized that the exciting nature of pharma and emerging technologies is in the space, because I'm on a team that really decides I was on the team that really decides that if this drug is going to be able to get to a patient. And it was really interesting to be on that side of things. And this is where I realized, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is also where I can truly drive the research and get innovative drugs to patients. And the last question I have is, what are some tips that you will give students who are seeking internships? So one tip that I would give students who are seeking internships is to create genuine relationships with people. One major rule of creating a genuine relationship is to always give more than you get. You never know where people are going to end up throughout your career, and having those connections or really friends will be the most valuable asset you will ever have. You can know everything in the world about your field, but if you don't know how to power networking and generally great relationships with people, you're only going to be good as the people around you and that the people that you surround yourself with. A lot of the people that I meet in the biotech space are really, really nice and really great people, and all of them really I'm still in contact to this day. And it's great that whenever say for example, I'm in Boston for a trip, I have people that I can meet with and catch up with. And I have friends all across this country who are in this space, and it's really nice to know that you're not by yourself as well. So I hope this talk will help someone, and I hope my answers will help someone as well. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.